I think government has really, central government, I like to appreciate the PM and the complete agriculture department coming out with some, from completely path-breaking reforms in agriculture, removing, amending the Essential Commodities Act and amending the APMC Act and deciding to pump in 1 lakh crores into developing an agricultural infrastructure, what we call as the post-farm gate, which actually will help in preservation, remove the wastages. I don't know how many of you realize that our wastage of grains can be as high as 20%, and the wastage of fruits and vegetables can be as high as 30 to 40%. And if this can be saved, believe me, not only the farmer gets better money into his pocket, but they will also ensure that the so-called food security, what you've been always worried about, can be completely taken care, even by just curtailing the wastage till up to maybe 2035, 2040. So that's the way I'm looking at. I'm going to stop here, sir, and I'll be most happy to take any questions regarding this area. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Keshwan, for giving your idea about the agriculture. And you have mentioned that our Indian economy is a agri-economy, where the agriculture is contributing because people are depending on the agriculture, and many, more than 55–60% people are involved in the agriculture only. And you have also mentioned that the government is doing very good, especially the central government, on the initiative of the Prime Minister, because they have amended the laws with like essential commodity laws as well as the APMC laws. Now, and you have also mentioned that the growth in the agriculture business is tremendous even during the lockdown period, and especially in June, when the tractors demand has increased by 22%. So you feel that the rural economy is going to have a boom because of this, even the COVID is there. Now I would like to go to our next guest. He is Mr. Suresh V. Chaturvedi. Mr. Chaturvedi is the Group Chairman, Overseas Infrastructure Alliance India Private Limited. Mr. S.V. Chaturvedi is an eminent entrepreneur from India with over 43 years of experience. Mr. Chaturvedi oversees a group business of about $1 billion across several countries. In 1994, through corporate reorientation, he assumed control of 2 large projects in India worth $86 million and $157 million respectively. He developed several projects like setting up sugar plants, distilleries, water distribution, power generation and distribution, infrastructure, roads, railway projects and hospitals on a turnkey basis for government in Africa. Mr. Chaturvedi has set up more than 27 projects in 1977. In the last decade, he has pioneered to explore opportunities in the African continent with a focus on developing infrastructure and industry. He has been a speaker at the World Economic Forum summits in Addis Ababa, Cape Town, and Tokyo. He was among the few Indian business leaders to speak at the annual meeting of African Development Bank in Marrakesh in 2013. Welcome, Mr. Chaturvedi, on our show. Mr. Chaturvedi, you have heard Mr. Keshwan. He said that although the COVID impact is there, but it is not there in the rural area. He said that the rural area, the rural economy is booming. The sales of tractors have gone up to 22% in the month of June. And he says that what central government is doing very nicely to tackle the conditions of the rural economy by pumping 1 lakh crores and whatnot. Now, we would like to know the COVID-19 impact on Indian industries. Mr. Suresh V. Chaturvedi, please.
Good morning, everybody. And I'm thankful to Mr. Lal, who has given the actual data on the total progress made by the country. And then Mr. Keshwan, who has very well covered agriculture industry. I will add little bit with that because I'm very well connected with the agri-business, because what Mr. Keswan said, that government is doing a very good promotional job of promoting mega food park. Mega food park are what? Whatever wastage is there, that should be controlled. It is a infrastructure where you can process the vegetables, fruit, and process your all the agriculture product of that area. So I'm doing one of the mega food park there in Mathura, and we helped a lot during this time, because the biggest problem of the COVID was the transportation and logistics, because mandis and all this thing, because of the social distance, was having a great problem to attend to this. And we with ITC almost did around 15,000 ton of wheat and help the farmer directly. Government also gives this facility that farmers have not to go to mandi and can sell directly at this thing. So this is our good luck, because our, as he rightly said, our most of the industry, our biggest chunk of the economy is agri-base, and that is doing well. And again, lot of labor which has gone back has helped agriculture in the family and all this thing. So we are going to do very well in agriculture, and that will keep the price low, because today the biggest problem is the pocket of the people, how much money they have to spend. So we will have, like other countries, we will not have that problem on our food product, because food product will be abundant, lot of stock will be there, which will be a very big silver lining in our total economy. Coming back to now the industries, which you rightly said that 40% our economy is depending on the industry. Most of the industry are going to suffer, because they are going to have a demand problem, because in this COVID, and whatever people say, vaccine will take at least 12 to 18 months from now, 12 to 14 months to be this, and then so much population, how it has to be. So we all have to understand one thing, that we have to live with this, and how we have to live, what we have to do. So government is taking all the steps to make industry move. Now, because of the social distance, the labor cost will go high, because you have to maintain the labor, transportation has to be there, you have to have distancing in the family, factory and all this thing. So all the costs, back to back, the raw material cost and all this thing is going to be high. Now that you cannot transfer to the consumer, because consumer is not in the position to take that cost on that. So that will be a very big suffering, number one. Number two, again, government is very helpful. They have announced the package for MSME around 4 lakh crore. Further, they are trying to help from different corners. But the biggest point is that the creation of the demand. And today, in this time, the creation of demand is a big problem. So what government should do, because the system has been made in the last 6 years very strong, and that a strong system does not allow economy to move, because there are checks and balances and no tolerance and all this thing. And at this tough time, you need tough measure. So the Prime Minister intention is very good. He's trying to do it. But down below, the things are not getting communicated and moving fast. And industry need a quick position. So there's enough liquidity. I was next to my bank, and he said in 4 months, he got 100 crore deposit. So there's enough money in the system, but there's no demand. So if businessman takes the money also, how he will return it, because he cannot sell the product. So the biggest job government has to do is increase the demand through infrastructure, through liquidity. If we have to print the note also, we do it, because if you bring the demand up, then automatically everything comes online, because we are self-consumed economy like America. We are not depending too much on export. So if we increase the demand, I think all the industries will do well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi, for giving the details that how because you are also directly connected with the agri-business, and you say that governments is doing the mega food malls where the wastage, what Mr. Keshwan has mentioned, can be reduced of the produce and which can be utilized. And you have also said that the government is infusing the money to MSMEs and to the banking sector. But the only problem which the industry is facing today is the demand. And to increase the demand, the government has to take the measures so that the demands can be increased, because we are self-consuming nation like USA. Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi, for giving all your views. Now, our next guest is Mr. Pawan Agrawal. Mr. Pawan Agrawal is the managing director of Nani Group, which presently has two paper mills, and Nani Papers Limited and Nani Tissues Limited, having an annual turnover of rupees 600 crores. Mr. Pawan Agrawal started his career as a business technocrat by putting up a state-of-the-art paper mill in the name of Nani Papers Limited at Kashipur, Uttarakhand in the year 1995. The two companies produce 110,000 metric ton of writing and printing papers from agriculture residue like bagasse and wheat straw. He has been elected for the post of District Governor of Rotary International in his Rotary district for the year 2022-23. He has adopted 50 government schools in US Nagar district for a period of 10 years. He will spend more than rupees 5 crores in these schools during this period to transform their infrastructure and improve quality of education. He is presently District Governor nominee of Rotary International, I told you earlier. He is currently holding the post of Chairman Paper Unit Chapter of KGCCI. He has served as President of Indian Pulp and Paper Technical Association, IPPTA, from 2017 to 2019. He got Excellent Water Management Award by Confederation of Indian Industries, CII, in 2007. He was given India's Most Trusted CEO Award by WCRC in 2018. He was given Udyog Alankar Award by Governor of Uttarakhand. Welcome, Mr. Agrawal, to our show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lal. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning, all.
Mr. Agrawal, you have heard what Mr. Keshwan and Mr. Chaturvedi has mentioned. Now, Mr. Keshwan says that because of our agri economy, our rural economy is booming during the lockdown or during this COVID period. And he has given the data that 22% of the sale of the tractors have increased. And he has also mentioned that because of the good policies of the government on the initiative of the Honorable Prime Minister, the agriculture demand and agriculture is doing well. So that was his view. Then Mr. Chaturvedi has also added that because of the new policies and the new measures, the government initiatives, the agriculture business is picking up. The only problem, according to Mr. Chaturvedi, is the demand. And he says that the government should come out with some planning so that the demand can increase. He even suggested that government should print more currency. That is his view. But now we would like to know from Mr. Pawan Agrawal, the COVID-19 impact on Indian industries. Mr. Pawan Agrawal, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lal. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me in this auspicious gathering and for this very relevant and important topic. I'm in total agreement with what my earlier speakers have mentioned about the situation and the status of Indian agriculture industry. Incidentally, I'm also related to agro-based industry only. We make paper from agricultural residue. Well, okay. Regarding the impact, you see, this was the incidence of the century, which took place in the world, and it was a global phenomena, and it was a big crisis. We all know about it, and we have talked a lot about it. And I have a firm belief that bigger the crisis, higher the opportunities. Now, coming to the impact of this particular crisis on the Indian industry. First of all, it was sudden. And the lockdown was also sudden. So the whole wheel which was moving, it came to sudden standstill. So it had to had a big impact, and it had a very, very big impact. Everything was a standstill. Now, everything in this ecosystem was affected. It was, be it manufacturing, even agriculture was affected for initial few days. Later on, it picked up because of government support. And then all these social sectors were affected. Our health sector was not prepared. Government was not prepared with this kind of health system required for this kind of crisis to be handled. So government had to do a lot of focus on the healthcare facilities. So when coming to particularly the industry aspect, you see there were few problems. Number one, the problem was, as Mr. Chaturvedi mentioned, problem of demand. Markets were closed. Now, if we produce, then produce for whom? Where the produce will go? So that was the big question mark. Secondly, government said in the initial phase of lockdown that only essential goods would be manufactured. Fine. But how to define the essential goods? Only the eatables are essential goods. Only the goods we consume are the essential goods. But what about their packing? There are so many so-called non-essential items which go into the manufacturing of essential items. What about the spares for their machinery? Isn't it essential? So when we look at the total ecosystem, we found that just terming essential commodities did not do any good to the Indian industry in the initial phase. But suddenly government realized it. And then maybe after a month of lockdown, they allowed so many other industries to open up and start their operations with a lot of do's and don'ts. Again, the problem with the industry was multifold. Number one, we have to be very careful about the workforce, about the new normal with the working environment in the industry. We had to take care of their hygiene in a much more advanced and cautious way. So as Mr. Chaturvedi rightly said, that this all increased to the overall, increase the overall cost of input. Then secondly, the migrant labor, it created a huge issue, and it is still a major issue. In many parts of the country where this migrant labor has been working very diligently, there the manufacturing is badly affected. And it's still not resumed to its earlier COVID days. So we don't know how much time will it take, but then governments are working, state governments are working on these lines. And I think this problem will be sorted out sooner than later. Otherwise, it is really going to have a big impact on the overall manufacturing efficiency. Then there is one more problem in the industry sector, that is of liquidity. Mr. Chaturvedi said that liquidity is enough, but that liquidity is with banks. What about the industry? Industry is not getting their payments on time from the market. Those payments are delayed or inordinately. So that is creating a pressure on liquidity, on cash flow. Now the whole chain is getting affected because of that cash flow problem. So today, if you ask me one single most problem that is affecting the industry today, especially the MSME sector, this is the problem of liquidity. Fine, government has RBI has instructed banks to give 20% more working capital to MSME sector, but on ground we are not seeing this coming true. There are a lot of conditions being put forth by the banks and a lot of issues. Now, what next? What do I see post COVID? Friends, in my opinion, we are going to see new normal in the industry. Number one, we are going to see employment to be affected badly. We are going to see industries going for automation, and they were going pre-COVID also, they were going for automation to improve their production efficiency. So we are going to see employment in the manufacturing sector to be affected badly, but simultaneously, employment is going to be generated elsewhere. So we are going to see a shift of employment generation. So a new ecosystem is going to evolve, and we are going to see that. Again, apart from employment, I see the government should lay a lot of focus on infrastructure development, lot of focus. We talk of China, and today sentiments, anti-China sentiments are there everywhere, and we feel like we can be really the winner in these present day sentiments. But friends, we have to be very careful. we have to be very diligent in our approach, while developing our economy vis-a-vis China, because our infrastructure is really a laggard, if I can use that word, in comparison to China. So government, the top priority for the government should be to lay a lot of emphasis on infrastructure, and it will generate simultaneously employment, infrastructure, and will really be good for the Indian economy in the future. So having said that, I'm quite optimistic given the market size of India. There'll be a lot of shifts, a lot of new normals coming up, I mean, like, government will have to lay a lot of focus on healthcare sector. It will have to lay a lot of focus on education, and we are seeing work from home is going to become a new normal. Education from home is going to become a new normal. But then we all will get adjusted to it. Economy will get all these things, adjusted in its own domain. So I would say India has got a bright future if certain basics are being done correctly. And my last word to the government through this platform would be, please come up with the land reforms and labor reforms as fast as possible. And it is the need of the hour. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal, for giving the details. And you have mentioned that although the COVID has also come suddenly, but the lockdown was also very sudden, and it stopped the wheel. And once the wheel was stopped, then all the industries have to stop the manufacturing at one time. But once it was opened, then the problem was the demand. And how to generate the demand is also a big problem. And according to you, although the government has infused lots of funds to the banks, but to get the funds from the bank is not that easy. According to you, it's like because of the red tape is. And you have also mentioned that we have to go for the new normal, and the new normal will be that there will be a shift of the employment. And what because we are doing these types of media conference almost every day, and earlier we had done for the rural economy, and the people were of view that now the shift is going to be the main focus will be on rural side. So I think what you meant was that the shift will be towards rural or the small tier 2 or tier 3 cities from the metros and the big cities. Thank you, Mr. Agrawal, for giving your so much good inputs. Now I would like to go to our next guest. He is Mr. Deven Chaudhary. Mr. Deven Chaudhary is the Executive Director of Aqua Plumbing Private Limited, Mathura. He is manufacturing bath and kitchen sanitary fittings. He has 38 years of manufacturing experience. He employs approximately 600 employees with annual production of 25 lakhs pieces of fittings. The company is Zero Liquid Discharge Company approved by NGT. He won Industry Leadership Award by Dainik Jagran. He also won prestigious Brand of the Year Award by Times of India Group. He is the treasurer of Ujjwal Braj, an NGO for the upliftment of Braj area. He was the main person for establishing the first critical care ambulance and standalone blood bank into service at Mathura under his leadership on Rotary platform. He was the committee chairman with National Chamber Commerce and Industries to get CNG and PNG sanctioned for Mathura. He is very actively involved with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for water sanitation and hygiene. Welcome, Mr. Chaudhary, on our show. Mr. Chaudhary, you have heard earlier panelists, Mr. Keshwan, Mr. Chaturvedi, and Mr. Agrawal. They are all three are directly or indirectly involved with the agri industries, because like Mr. Keshwan is involved, and he is being the chairman of the FICCI's agriculture committee, and Mr. Chaturvedi is also doing the business basically on the agri business, and Mr. Agrawal, the raw material is again the agri products. And they have given the problems. They have also mentioned that the government is doing very good things to promote to safeguard the industries, but because of some lacunas, because of some red tape, those benefits are not reaching to the industries as such. Although the rural economy is moving ahead, as well as according to Mr. Agrawal, there will be a shift of the employment. And Mr. Chaturvedi says that because of the agriculture-based good policies, definitely the wastage will be less. And Mr. Keshwan has also given the figures that even the sales of the tractor shows the increment of 22% in June. It means the rural economy is going to be the future of India, better than the urban economy, which to be, by the way, tomorrow's my subject is the impact, COVID-19 impact on urban economy. So now because you are dealing with a product, you are really a manufacturing of taps and other things. I'm sure that you are not using the agri products which all other panelists are using. So now we would like to know the COVID-19 impact on Indian industries. Mr. Devendra Chaudhary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goyal, for giving me this opportunity to be on this platform. And I'm thankful to all my seniors, and namaste, good morning, welcome to all the viewers who are basically viewing this program. As a MSME, because since we are coming from an MSME sector, so I feel like this time, which is a difficult time, people say this is a difficult time for this COVID problem, but as a manufacturer with this kind of experience, I see a big opportunity for the future. So every difficulty has its own big opportunity. We need to look at the positivity, the way we look at these difficulties. We are finding positivity and opportunity for future. So now this is a time for an entrepreneur to get more disciplined and to bring in complete experience to fight these kind of situation, and to give motivation and support to rest of the industry. So if we talk about Mathura is quite popular to produce faucets, because these things started at Mathura. Basic problems are being discussed by seniors earlier. So there are many things to be discussed, but the small part of today's basically discussion is where industry and agriculture. These two things, when we look at these two things, agriculture will play a big role in any country's economy, but parallelly, industry is also playing a very big role. Both the roles are basically making any country very strong. The best part with India is we have a big consumption market, very big consumption market. As Mr. Chaturvedi said, like US, we don't need to get dependent on rest of the economy. So we have a consumption market, but we don't have enough production happening in India. If we talk about the industrial products, food grains, definitely we produce a lot, but industrial products, we don't produce a lot, because majorly MSME sector is dependent on whatever we do with our hands. We don't have automation done so far. Now this is the time for the entrepreneurs to look at China. China developed themselves. They did automation. They learned from Europe. Europe used China to be their job work country, and they produce for the world, and they become superpower in manufacturing. Earlier, if you talk about early 80s, there was I'm basically just targeting my industry, like taps and cocks, bathroom fittings. China people didn't had money to spend to buy these things or to use faucets in their bathrooms, but first world country, I mean, they basically shifted their technology and machinery in China to produce those things for first world and developing nations to cut down the cost. As Mrs. Chaturvedi said, we need to control our cost because the incomes would definitely will be lower. So as entrepreneur, we feel that it's our duty to bring in more mechanized systems in our production lines. We need to promote our legacy business. We need to bring in a thought where cluster developments, like small units, basically, they are working separately in the part of city, and they don't have good infrastructure. So cluster development, which is now being focused by the state government, that whatever we are producing, it is to be produced in a cluster, like ODOP, like one district, one product. There's a call which has been taken by UP state government. So they are basically developing the legacy business. As an entrepreneur, we have the moral responsibility to support these kind of schemes, to bring in better systems, to reduce our cost, and to produce goods which can be sold in India and can be exported to the globe, to rest of the world, like China did. We Indians have a bigger advantage than China, because we are on a verge of development. We have money to spend. We have a population to consume these things. And the best part now, which is favoring India, the negative sentiment for China is giving a big opportunity to India to develop further with this kind of products. So I feel like this opportunity as an Indian entrepreneurs, as a MSME sector, we have to take a call. Government is bringing in all the supports. Now, this is our responsibility, duty, to take a self-pledge that we will stay responsible for the development of this country, for our businesses, and to give, whatever motivation is required to the people who are new to the business. And definitely we need to find out, new ways to create employments by bringing in more of factories and control wastages. As my senior said, wastage control is a production. I mean, extra production. If we save something, that's basically an extra produce for the country. So, like our company, we are basically looking at water, which is basically a need of everything, whether it's agriculture or it's domestic usage. So now we are bringing in we have taken a self-pledge that we will be introducing some of the devices in our product line to save water every day back home. Because you are using your basins, your kitchen every day. I mean, you are wasting a lot of water. So we are bringing in like some of the devices where you can save water. And with this kind of a pledge, we are basically supporting our national government call, like Har Ghar Nal Se Jal, Har Ghar Nal Se Jal. If there is no jal, then what happens? So what we need to look at, the wastages. As the wastage of food grain, as the wastage of water, we need to take a self-pledge, self-call, need to get more disciplined, that we as entrepreneurs, we have to look at all the areas. I mean, maybe it's a skill development program, maybe bringing in new strategic things, because all the industry people cannot basically go simultaneously, for bringing in more of mechanized systems. Whereas government is giving, and they have shown interest that there are policies. I mean, government is giving a lot of incentives these days in UP state. If we put a factory, if we bring in more machines in UP under ODOP, like I said, it's legacy business. So this town is basically quite popular to produce faucets since 1948. My grandparents, they started this business in 1948, but there are some government restrictions, maybe because of the Taj Tourism Zone. That's why we struggled to bring in PNG, CNG back into this town. And we fought a lot for the revival and survival of this industry. As an entrepreneur, I mean, we have to put ourselves before the government what we need. Either it's an infrastructure or it's any scheme, maybe a financial assistance, or maybe like the subsidies, or whatnot, like ESIC and Provident Fund for our workers. Government has given us a state, it's a big canvas where we have to just paint the picture. So National Housing Board, they intend to construct around 9 crore units in the next 7 years. That's Pradhan Mantri Affordable Housing Scheme, like, Prime Minister Affordable Housing Scheme. So houses for all, like government want to get rid of slums, because slums, this is the area where we feel like the diseases are grow manifold. So people living in bigger towns, they are living in slums and they are working in shifts. So each colleague, so there are 4, 5, 6, 8 people living, and shift by shift, they are changing their uh, their lifestyle. I mean, they're coming in the morning, they're going back in the night, and but staying in one room. So there's a dingy room. So big areas, big cities, cosmopolitan cities are not meant for manufacturing. So manufacturing should be shifted towards, C, D, or rural areas where cluster development can happen, industrial park. If these kind of infrastructure are being provided by government, or maybe SPVs, like we have taken a project in Mathura that as a SPV, as a special purpose vehicle, we have submitted one proposal with state government and central government that we intend to come up with, common facility centers. Skill development programs has to happen, because people need to people need to learn how these things can be produced on machines. And if they produce these things on machine, they can cut down the cost. Once the cost is in control, the quality is basically upgraded. Sky is the limit for any manufacturer to sell those products globally. So as our Prime Minister said, we need to go global, vocal, local for vocal, then we need to go global. So first we need to understand ourselves. We need to require, self-pledge that yes, we are ready to take a new leap by putting ourselves for next 5 years. We can see a very bright, I can say, like, maybe next 20 to 30 years, Indian industry will never take a backstage. If we bring in new systems, as entrepreneur, we commit to the government calls, and we don't feel like something has gone wrong. Definitely, this is like a war like a situation. It's basically something biological war. There is no ammunition used, but everybody has suffered. So we have to be prepared. I mean, take opportunities will come, difficulties will come, but we have to fight. We have to stand with everything. So as an entrepreneur, we should have that kind of a courage, with government support, with people support, with good wishes, and to look at how we need to build this nation, how we need to build this country, how we need to come out of anything. We have to bring in our thoughts, put in our thoughts to, you know, get to reach our targets, to reach our goals, and to make this country, you know, uh, something like China has done for the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. The country has to be reach on top. And you are very optimistic when you said that the future of industry is very good. You have also mentioned how the government is supporting and the new policies of the state government. You have mentioned about the ODOP, the one district, one product. And you said that there should be a cluster of industries in one place so that the produce will go, and there will be it will be very, very economical. And you said that if we have to fight with the China, we have to see to it that how fast we can do, but this is only possible with the cooperation of the government, the industrialists, as well as the public. Now, I would like to go to ask the question with Mr. Keshwan. Mr. Keshwan, you have heard everyone. Now, I would like to know from you, will the Atmanirbhar package suffice in reviving industries, or do companies need additional finance assistance from the government?
See, I need to look at this question into two parts. One is what is urgently needed to revive the current situation. And second is what is needed as a corrective action for the future. I think many things the government has really done. They have taken this into the corrective actions, which will take time to happen. I mean, it is not that the corrective action can happen immediately, because the biggest thing everybody is looking is money in the pocket. Whether it's the individual or the MSMEs or the companies, everybody is looking for money in the pocket, different ways, selling the produce, working, whatever it is. the issue is how to put the money in the pocket. That is the current thing there. So the way I looked at it is the actions done on PMCKY for the money to be put into the pockets of the agricultural labor is a good measure. Right or wrong, I think some money goes into the pockets. The MSME very rightly said, I think it has been pointed out that banks willing to give the loans, bridging loans, money to banks. The policy has been brilliantly thought through, but unfortunately, I think our friends have been very clear in saying that the execution has always been a little tardy. I'm not putting blames on anybody because finally the frontline banker who is handing over the loan, he also has a responsibility of collecting it back, because once this crisis passes, everybody will forget everything. So he is worried that the credit worthiness, blah, blah, that checks. So there has been a suggestion we gave the government saying that at least for this particular period, why not you give some of these things? I mean, you assume that only something will come back. Something will not come back. I mean, make a very clear policy statement and make it mandatory to the banks that you have to do this so that the bank manager will not be worried. There have been other sides to it. They say that if I do this, there are also other issues. People may misuse it. But I think the question here is, can I help 85% of the people, 90% of the people, and can I live with 10% will get misused? Rather than worried about 10% getting misused so that I don't help 90% of the people. So this has been the quandrum. I think this is slowly getting corrected. I have been hearing some numbers that some of the MSME issues are getting addressed. If you ask me, yes, I've been, one thing I've always been talking about that, let me come back to agriculture. While a lot of measures has been done, people tend to forget that agriculture falls between many compartments, many silos. First of all, it is the center and the state subject. So center plus 29, 30, 31, I think the number of states are also increasing. So question is, somebody has to bridge it and bring in a common purpose. The other bigger problem is agriculture falls between many central ministries. There is a Ministry of Processing, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Environment, I mean, you name it, and Ministry of Road Transport. So there are about 10 different ministries who has a say on agriculture, production, movement, fertilizer. So I've been saying that like you did this for GST, I think it is high time you create an agricultural council which has got a reasonable power, negotiate with everybody and start the reforms, ensure the reforms are commonly agreed and start rolling it. You may like to do 100 things, but if you can do 20, 30, 40, everything on a common agreement. And like GST, states need to know that by agreeing to an agricultural council's recommendation, they will gain rather than lose. They will be even agreeable if they don't, there's nothing more than what they are getting today. But they may be afraid of losing something. Of course, there are political issues that they lose the food bank of farmers if everything is become very transparent and everything is started coming to them. So I think there are issues. So this is something we have been recommending to the government, saying that create a body, because people, as you rightly said, close to 40, 50, 60% of the people are one way or the other affected by agriculture. So why not create a strong body to ensure that it is rolled out over a period of time? Because see, these kind of reforms cannot be done in a tenure of one government. Okay, that's the difference between trying to do something so I win the next election, or trying to do something which in over a 2 or 3 or 4 elective period so that the country improves. For that, you need a different group to do this, and there has to be a common acceptance between opposition, government, and different ministries. So good deed starts rolling. So this is a request. So let's see how this goes. Other thing, of course, I said that the entire agricultural manufacturing chain, including distribution, must be considered an essential commodity. I think somebody else actually said that also, because I may be an essential commodity, but my supplier is not, and how the hell is going to help me? So I think these are the thoughts which we need to park. I think considering the difficulties and the suddenness of the impact of COVID. I think a lot has been done. It's very easy to sit outside and say, criticize. But I think we need to understand when you sit in their shoes and they have to look at it and they have to govern people of 1.3 billion, it's not easy. It's going to be, and every acting can be questions. See, that's a problem in India. You do good things or bad things. I think good thing can very easily be questioned. Bad things, people are sometimes worried about questioning. So these are the questions which you have to really answer. We need to, when it comes to COVID, for me, the pandemic war is like a war. So every single chap, whether it's the government, opposition, people, had to be united, except there will be some errors, some mistakes. But as far as I still go, if you can do 89%, 90%, 85% good, live with it. We are a democracy. If 51 is right, 49 has to accept it. So why not do you think 85% is right, according to allow it to go? So that's all the thing I have to say on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keshwan, and giving the suggestion that there should be an agriculture council on the lines of GST, which can consider all the agri industries problems and their things, so that the agriculture movement can be smooth. And according to you, if we will have this, because earlier, right now also in present, more than 10 ministries are dealing with the agriculture subject, and once so there's lots of confusion, and it takes again the red tapeism and whatnot. Now I would like to ask Mr. Suresh Chaturvedi. Mr. Chaturvedi, you have mentioned that India should pump in the funds. You said that we require, the demand has to grow. But if you see the model of what UK and USA has done recently, if we say that what UK has done, they pumped in the money, but not directly. What they are doing is they are giving, first thing, they have given the salaries up to 80% to all the employees and to those companies who wants to see that those employees can work, but they are not that much independent. Recently, they are allowing to pump in the money by way of giving to the new young generation people from 18 to 24 years age by giving for the 6 months a fixed amount stipend as an internship. So, and those persons can work in any of the industry. Now, once they will get the money, that definitely the money will come in the market or in the country. So circulation will be there. So that is one thing. But the other thing, what you are saying is that we should print the money more. Although you also know that the printing of money also have lots of repercussions and reservations, because we should have set that much gold reserves in our country and whatnot. So don't you think that government should come out with the new schemes where they can pay? Because if you see many industries, I'm not talking of agriculture only, even if you see the colleges, if you see the hospitals, today the condition is many of the private hospitals are reducing or cutting the salaries of the doctors, whom we are treating them a god. We are clapping for them. But if you find out the reality today, the many of the corporate hospitals have reduced the salary. Similarly, the colleges, because there is no admission, as you have mentioned about the education. Now, education, when there is no admission, how the college pupil will be able to pay to the staff? Now, why not we either the government should come out to give the subsidy to everyone, or to come out to see that the money should come in the market? Mr. Suresh Chaturvedi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal. First of all, what Pawan put up about the total system, what he has really emphasized, that government intention is there, but system is paralyzed. The second point, what Mr. Keshwan said, that yes, we all are there, but there should be system to get out. Now, Mr. Lal, I'll put two things separately. Whether Europe or America, or Japan, they are all surplus economy. Today, you will see that there is a minus rate of interest, and $31 trillion is lying in bank institutions. There is nobody to take her, and they are paying interest to the the investor is paying interest to the bank for keeping that money. So when I mentioned that there's enough money, whether in India or other side, I was mentioning about the deposits in India on that. The printing of note was not a literal position. What my point of view was that tough problems have tough solution. And today we are in a very good situation, Mr. Lal, because you have been the part of administration and everything for long, that we have a government which has such a big majority, which has no opposition at all. And not even center, but in state also. In every state, we have a very prominent government. So we can take tough calls, very tough calls. Now we have to rewrite the history like we did after independence. If you see, we were not an industrial country. Knowingly, the English people kept us as a trading economy. And earlier leaders decided that we have to do industrialization and we have to help industry. We were not industrialists. If you see old houses also, big industry was with English people. There were people, families who were minority shareholder in those big companies, which later on took over by Indian entrepreneur. We developed entrepreneurship, and we thought that bank, which are commercial bank, cannot help because everybody is blaming bank. But we should understand now they are with the international situation. There is a Basel norms, their international credit rating, and they cannot give the money for the development or this type of problem because these are commercial institutions which has to take the money and give the money. Because if they will give the money right and left for the development of this type of problem, then they cannot give it to the deposit holder. Then you will have like other banks which are getting bunking, and investor will again shout. So we should not expect whatever you say you are given 4 lakh crore or 5 lakh crore depend on the banker. Because in my company also, I say I am giving $1 million to you, and then I put all the comma, inverted comma. My CEO cannot work because he has to return my money. I have to tell him this 1 million is only for development and you look after this and throw it wherever you want. Then he can work. So we had the development institutions like UTI, IDBI, ICICI, IFCI. These were development. And if you know, in Karnataka, KSIDC, SIPCOT, there were several development. Their job was not commercial. Their job was that these are loss-making organizations doing industrial development. And you have seen the result that our entrepreneur from 90 onward went and they were the biggest investor worldwide because we created entrepreneurship. Now, it is not only on COVID, money demonetization, after that GST, our medium and small industries is suffering from last 3 years, and top of this COVID came. So what such a dynamic prime minister we have, you have to have a solution which should not have, because this system is paralyzed, because after all our banks were taking also advantage, and it was done rightly, that you should not support the person for whole life. So from 90 onward, we started telling, let development institution be finished and bank should be a commercial. And then lot of cleaning up going on, lot of things are going up and down, whatever it is. But we have gone on that path. If you want to reverse that path, it's next to impossible. So what you have to create out of this bank for some time, the 5 banks you say you are only development bank. As Mr. Keswan has said very rightly, your job is nobody will ask you, because CBI will do his job, Enforcement Director will do his job, because you can't tell them that you don't see that. So as he rightly said, I'm very happy if 51% is delivered, because we are a huge country. If 51% is delivered, 49 will automatically come up onto that plan. With that fear, if you will not take very powerful steps to bring the money in the pocket, UK has given, it is, my lot of friends are there, it's in their account, money is coming, other account is coming, but that we cannot have it here. Prime Minister has done for farmers 6,000 rupees going to their account. It's fine, nobody will take any objection to that, because we are the people who love poor, who wants to help poor and all this part. But this cannot be given to everybody and anybody like this. Only create the job for them, create the demand for them. If you will do that, our people are very hardworking, very sincere, very dedicated. Nobody wants free lunch and dinner. So what as a boss in the country I have to do is that the system which we are cleaning up, now the time is not there for that. That has become now the second priority. The first priority, I get delivered money in the pocket of the people, not by way of charity, by way of giving them the work. And if you give them the work, and as I told you, if I am the leader, if I have to go worst by printing note also, I will do it, which will not be required because we have a lot of reserve available. Otherwise, the next step is, I have a lot of property on rent. My rents are going down. I have no income from that. Deposit rate will go down because there will not be any demand. So our retired people also, other people may not be affecting today, but next 3 months they will affect because neither they will get from fixed deposit interest, and the repercussion will be demand will be less and less, less and less and less and less, and which will suffer the industry. So we are in vicious cycle. And what we have to select between two devil, a devil which can help us. Both are devil on today. Inflation is going to happen, but that's not the question today. Today is you mobilize your industries, and that can only be done by creating demand. And for demand, as Mr. Keswan said, and as Mr. Pawan said, today biggest problem is cash flow. And if you have to build up the cash flow in the pocket of the industrialists and all this thing, and if 50% goes okay, our economy will come back, whatever it is, because COVID we have to face for next 5 years. We should not feel of today or tomorrow. Fortunately, the WHO chief today, Dr. Tedros, is a very close friend of mine because he was health minister of Ethiopia. Under his leadership, I put up an eye hospital in a charity as my CSR there. So then he became the foreign minister. Very intelligent man, very down towards all the action. But this is the fact, because the vaccine has to come out, then it has to reach to the people. So let us not think this is a today's problem. It is going to be next 5 years. So let us have a long-term solutions. And we have to live with this. And that is only the case that you create demand, you make the money to cycle under M3. And M3, the third portion is when you print the note, which is almost 7-8%. The second is foreign remittance. And the third 90% is circulation of money from morning to evening. And that brings your GDP and net worth. So what we have to put it, that we mobilize our engine and keep moving so we survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. We have to mobilize our engine so that we can survive. And you have given the details. You said that Indians are very hardworking. They don't want free lunches. You have also mentioned that the UK or Japan or Europe or USA can afford, but our economy is not that strong. But if we will create the jobs, if once the creation of the job, then the money will definitely circulated, then the demand will increase. And once the demand will increase, then the industries can survive. And you said that it is possible, and we have to, you have also mentioned one thing very clearly, that the departments like CBI and enforcement department, they should also not, they have to do their work, but right now the top priority is to bring the economy back. And that is only possible, that first priority should be given for that, because the banker, according to you, he has to see many things, how the money will come back, what if he will give, whether it will not go out or something like that. But according to you, this is possible because we have a very strong prime minister and with such a good majority. Now I would like to ask Mr. Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, how can industries mitigate the effect of supply chain disruptions during the pandemic? Because it happens, earlier it was a lockdown all over India. Then when we started opening, now the recent trend is that the lockdown is local, state-wise. Like today, the entire Uttar Pradesh in the lockdown. Even for Saturday, for the Sunday, the entire Karnataka is under lockdown. Pune has been termed lockdown from 13th to 23rd of July. So now the chain, because after all the industries are working on the supply chain, whether the things, the raw materials are coming from one state, one district, and whatnot. But if there is a lockdown, many times it breaks the chain. Then how the industries will survive, or how can industries mitigate the effect of supply chain disruptions during the pandemic? Mr. Agrawal, please. Please unmute yourself.
Very relevant question, Mr. Lal. And I must say the foremost thing an industry has to do, any industry has to do, is to make its operations flexible. You know, gone are the days when you produce anything and you sell anything. You have to respond to the customer changing requirements. Today, customers' requirement have changed a lot in the past 3 months. That's what we have seen. Today, I mean, earlier in the early days of lockdown, we were net importer of PPE kits, and today we are the second largest manufacturer of PPE kits in the world. You see, Mr. Chaturvedi has very rightly put that we are highly responsive to the world demand, and we really work hard to achieve if we see any opportunity anywhere. So first and foremost, we should be responsive to the customer's demands. Number one. Today, I'm just to give an example. Today, I mean, we have been making paper, and you see one quality we used to produce for hours on the machine, and then the second quality was produced, say, after a day or 2 days, because of the disruption in production efficiency. We used to think that production efficiency will go down, but then our customers were suffering. They were waiting for their product to be manufactured. We were taking their orders as per our own convenience. It is not going to happen anymore. You have to look at the customer's convenience first. Today, we have seen in the past 1.5 months of reopening, customer wants his order to be delivered as fast as possible. So number one, it all starts from your own manufacturing activity. Please inculcate enough flexibility in your manufacturing operation, and you have to rely heavily on automation from now onwards, on artificial intelligence, your workers' efficiency, and all those modern tools of making your manufacturing operations flexible. That was point number one. Number two, about the liquidity problem. The whole supply chain gets disrupted again because of liquidity issues. If somebody is not paying me the old dues, how can I supply him the further material? That's a big problem, and this whole chain continues. So anywhere there is a break in the payment, in the complete chain, the whole chain gets disrupted. So we have to work very closely with our customers. We have to really understand their requirement. We should make our product as per their requirement. We should sell them the quantity which they really need, not to push whatever we make. Okay, they need 10 tons, we sell them 15 tons. No, we should sell them only 10 tons, so that our liquidity becomes intact. Our cash flow remains intact. So that is again very important. Thirdly, we should be very smart in transporting our material, both inwards as well as outwards. All inefficiencies in the transportation system have to go out. And I'm very happy to note in the past 1.5 months, the kind of efficiency I have seen in the transportation system, hats off to them. They have really come out with some very novel ideas. And like government has also done this, like all the tolls have become, barrier free now, so as to say. And the time in reaching the destination has really come down. And because of less traffic on the roads, also we have seen that the goods are reaching faster to their destinations. So we have to come up with some novel ideas. I'm seeing a lot of transport companies opening up their warehouses and trying to serve their customers in a very smart way. And they are using all kind of latest technologies to their use. Today you can see GPS in most of the trucks which are carrying goods, and you can track your truck right the time it leaves your factory to the time it reaches the customer's end. So all these smart technologies have to be put to a great use, and I think if government really puts great efforts on building infrastructure, especially road network and power network, I'm pretty sure we can really be competitive. Just to give you an example. For the listeners, you see, it's fashionable today to talk India versus China. I have done a survey. In India, we sell goods from our unit in Uttarakhand to Chennai. It takes 15 days for the truck to reach Chennai and come back. 15 days, and the cost is say 7,000 rupees a ton. 7,000 rupees a ton on paper, right? In India. Now, now you simulate the same situation in China. For the same distance, it takes 5 days to go to that destination and come back in China instead of 15 days. And the transportation cost in India, it is 7,000 rupees a ton. In China, it is less than 1,000 rupees a ton. Can you believe that? Today we are selling goods in a 20-ton truck or maximum 30 tons truck. In China, the same the same good is transported in a 90-ton truck. The road infrastructure is like that. So government has to really think very seriously about this. And my only submission is we can really be competitive if we empower our people. And how to empower our people? Number one, build good world-class infrastructure. There is no substitute to it. It will only be talk, talk, and talk if we don't really lay a lot of focus on infrastructure building. There is no substitute to it. And number two is make all those reforms, the land reform, the bank reform, and the labor reform. You have to come up with all those reforms. This is the time. This is the time for India. And we are seeing world is looking at us. Everybody is looking at an alternate manufacturing base other than China. And India is a very good option. So we will miss it if we don't really be focused. So I think just to lastly to say to your question, we have to be very careful while looking at our logistic thing, and government can play a major role by giving the support of the infrastructure to it.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal. Government can play a major role by giving the support in the logistics. And you have very clearly mentioned that now the shift, the behavior has changed. The industries have to think in a different way. They have to see the needs of the consumer. You have also mentioned about the logistics, and you said that the logistics have improved drastically, but still we are lagging behind. And you have compared with the China, that China, the same costing 1,000 rupees per metric ton, while in India it is costing 7,000 rupees per metric ton. And you said because the roads are so good there that the 90-ton truck can carry 90 ton of load, while in India only 10, 20 or 30 tons. So government has to play a major role so that the supply chain should not be broken. And you have also mentioned about the liquidity crunch, and you said that it is not the liquidity because those who have taken the money, those we have supplied the materials, you are not getting back the payments of that supplies have not yet come. So you have given the reply in that way, that it all depends that. And you have also said that India can become #1, and it is going to be. We have a very good opportunity because all the countries are looking for alternate China. Now, my question to Mr. Chaudhary is, Mr. Chaudhary, you are employing, you have, as mentioned, 600 people. Now, you have seen in last 3 months, you means that everyone has saw the problems what migrants have faced. And it's very shameful. I think everyone, whether the government, the civil society, or all of us, we failed. After all, they are also human beings. They have been treated in a very, very badly. But now I want to know from you, because you are running an industry where you are having so many persons working. Yes, if those are migrants, how you dealt with them and what you feel, because now there is a shift, as our earlier speakers have mentioned, there is going to be a shift where even the labor class instead of going back to the metros or big cities, would like to stay in the villages or tier 3, tier 4 or tier 2 cities. So how you think those industries which are in the big cities are going to survive without the labor? Although Mr. Agrawal says that we have to go for the automation, but it will take time. You cannot do overnight. So what is your take about the migrants thing, and how you have dealt with them, and how you think the entire industry should deal? Mr. Chaudhary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. as you said, migrancy. Migrancy definitely was a big challenge and big issue with all the industries. As I mentioned in my earlier discussion and my suggestion, that as an industrialist or as an entrepreneur, we need to take care of our legacy business. Legacy business means local skill development is to be done with our local people. So we don't need to get dependent on migrant people. So I feel like showing this thing and declaring this thing that my factory employs 100% local people. So there is nothing happened in our industry as migrancy. Skill development we did. We brought in a lot of Italian machines during 2011, 2012. Machines which were quite popular with first world. I mean, we were the first to introduce those machines in our industry. So the company from Italy, the machine manufacturers, I mean, they send their team for 1.5 months to Mathura to train our people. They said you need to employ some of the very senior people to operate these machines. So we said no. We would like our people because our people are our assets, not liability. So we need to train them. I can say like 70% of my people are the people who are working with us for last 20 years, maybe 30% for the last good 30 years. So 99% is our retention. So people don't leave us. We don't leave our people. We don't let them go back to any other place. So they love to join. They love to work with us. Similarly, if skill development can happen in each and every town, in each and every city where the industries are there. So there is a big step which government has to take, like CFC. I said that's Common Facility Center, because MSME is a small, they basically work with small capital, so they cannot put lot of investments on machines and training centers. So CFC is one big one big solution. Cluster development is another big solution for the promotion of futuristic manufacturing units. As you said, I mean, definitely the big in big metropolitan cities. I mentioned earlier also, big metropolitan cities should not promote industries for future. Industrial activity should happen in the rural, backward, C category, D category towns, where we can let people live, reside, like China has done. They have made dormitories. They have created residences within the factories, around the factories, so there is less traveling, and they are living in an organized community. The cost of living is less. The cost of the movement is less. The cost of spending on them is less. Factory, industry is taking care of their daily needs. The entire family in China, the best part is the entire family works in the same factory. So there is no, additional stress on the family. The wife is not there, or the father is not there, or the mother is not there. The entire family is working in one factory. I mean, they are working as a team in the factory. That's basically the area where, I mean, they are bringing in more of production. The cost is less. That the quality is very high. I mean, I am traveling to China for the last 15 years. I have seen a lot. I have been traveling to Italy to see a lot. I have brought in a system within our factory. We can see how India works. We have an example here. How Italy works. We have an example here. How China works. We have an example here. So all the three streams, three continents working, you can see in our factory, and we are training our people. We are not bringing people from outside. So as an entrepreneur, we have to take a responsibility that we have to provide them best of the systems. We have to train our people, so there should be no migrancy problem. Skill development should happen. ODOP was a big task which we followed with state government, and because local industry has to get support. If there is no support, suppose we as an industrialist, we face problem like with the wages, because there is a disparity of wages. Say up to 30 kilometers, Mathura, like the bordering city is Rajasthan. So as a minimum wage, I mean, we see, I mean, the Rajasthan state government recommends a minimum wage of, say, for MSME, it should be 7,000. For UP, the minimum wage is 9,000. After 30 kilometers, Why the minimum wage is changing? Because we are living in one country. We are living in one country. The cost of living. The cost of living in this country is, say, decided by the government. Okay, this is the cost of living. So cost of living is same, suppose. So why there's a wage difference? This small things government has to take, like when there is a change in the government, there is some bureaucratic political decisions taken to support trade unions and to workers. It's not that we are against that people should earn more money, but it has to go in a parity, not disparity. So if Rajasthan is paying 8,000, UP should pay 8,000. If Rajasthan is paying 7,000, UP should pay 7,000. So there has to be disparity. If there is no disparity, there will be parity, there will be no migrancy. If people are running 7,000 here, Rajasthan people would love to come to Mathura to work, because here they will get 9,000, right? So migrancy happens just because of the wages are different. Why migrancy is happening in Delhi? Because the labor charges in Delhi is 12,000. So from Rajasthan to Delhi, migrancy will happen. From Bihar to Delhi, migrancy will happen because there is disparity. So we need to look for the parities. So we need to get for developments of like local skill developments, CFCs, cluster developments, where industry can have good infrastructure. We are working for Mathura with Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank has visited us. I mean, they are taking us. We are putting a lot of notes with them. So we might be having a detailed meeting with our chief secretary soon, how to develop this industry and how to bring complete mechanized system, organized system, where we can have central effluent treatment plants, so Yamuna ji can stay free from all the industrial effluents. We should bring in best of the systems to avoid air pollutions. We should bring in the systems where people can stay within the periphery. So a lot of suggestions has been given to state government through ADB. So ADB is putting in themselves how these clusters can work, how these clusters require support. So looking into these things, because as you said, it's a big question of migrancy. So migrancy should not happen because there is a labor wage disparity which is bringing in this migrancy. People are getting inclined to move to Delhi, or they're inclined to move to Mumbai because they get higher wages because of this disparity.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary, for giving the details. Yeah, Mr. Chaturvedi, you want to say something? Just say shortly, because our time
2 minutes I'll take.
Yeah.
Mr. Lal, what I am adding, he has gone very deep into the whole problem and trying to resolve. You very rightly said it has become a big blunder for us. You know what we have done, because we have not been with them. And why I'm making my point clearly is that we took short-term decisions. We should understand now, as Mr. Pavanji has said, that this is not a short-term situation. You will see the whole system, everything will change. So what we have to do is a long-term solution, because we thought it will be for 8 days, then 10 days. Otherwise, we could have not made the lockout from night 12 o'clock. We could have given 7 days time to all the industries to shift their people or take an alternative arrangement and look after that. So it has been done, because whatever advisor people give to the top men, it has been always short term. So we had 4 closure and 3 opening on short term basis. What my request through your panel is, let us have a long term view, that this is going to be a long term situation which we should live. Otherwise, we will do injustice with so many people that we will only repent at later on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi, for adding what Mr. Chaudhary has said, because Mr. Chaudhary has given a very good solution for the migrants, and he says that there should be a parity of the labor wages, because if the salaries will be equivalent, then why the people will from Bihar will go to Bihar. And secondly, he says that we should have a skill development. I just like to mention, the other day when we were doing the show on the real estate, impact on the real estate in India, one of the CREDAI president of Pune, he mentioned to us that they have already floated a program where they are training now the local pupils for the plumbing or the mason work and all those works, so they will not depend on the migrants. Now, if this will be taken all over the India, then definitely the migration problem can be solved. Now, because for the paucity of the time, I would like you to give as fast and as quick the suggestions to the government and advice to the public. Mr. Keshwan, please. Unmute you.
I think we have given a lot of thoughts has already gone. I'm only going to say one thing. I think this COVID has helped us to also cut down the wastage. Let us not forget it. And in many ways, I mean, today you are able to work from home. We are able to do majority of the skill training programs on virtual. What we were training 200, 300, 400 people physically, we are now gone to 10,000 people virtually. And the biggest advantage we get is precisely somebody said that you're able to skill people from a distance. So I think let us use this COVID simply to ensure that cut wastage. Can be anything. Driving down to the office. I mean, people who don't have to go and do physical labor, I think today you can work from anywhere. That's a good learning we are getting. Second thing is we talk about the back officers or call centers. I think today we have learned that your call center, people can sit at home and do call center work. They don't have to be together to do the call center work. You're eliminating. They also see anything which is not used or it is not giving returns is a wastage. So let us look at this. Every industry can look at what are the things today you can do without incurring the wastages. Something we think it is necessity would have been a wastage because the way we are thinking has changed. So I think let us use it to change the way we work. Ensure that beautiful idea, cluster development. And see, I am a person who think that I don't want to go to a big town to work because if I earn 15,000 rupees sitting at my house in a small village, it is much more than 40,000 rupees in a town. Because, almost everything is taken care. So I think that is the way it has to go. We made mistakes in the past. But let us also not deny that many towns actually came around the industry. Once the industry got set up, it developed into a town. So there are two sides. So let us eliminate wastages. Let us ensure that people can work from where they are and spread the industry across. I think that can be the interesting thing in India. Infrastructure is going to be the biggest bottleneck for doing all this. So if government can actually start putting efforts on infrastructures or every village is connected, I think people will be able to actually get people to work from home. A lot of work can be done in villages, small scale industries move to villages. The advantage what you get is you actually get a lower cost. You'll be able to beat the world with the right kind of products and prices. Let us take this as an opportunity and move towards it. That's all I am going to say. Thank you.
Let's take this opportunity and move further. And you have given very good suggestion that the government should emphasize now on the infrastructure. Now, Mr. Chaturvedi, your suggestion to the government and advice to the public.
Thank you. Number one, nature has given us the vacation. So we had 3 months vacation to sit down and think. And we have thought, and as Mr. Keshwan and Mr. Agrawal and Mr. Deven mentioned, that we have to see the rework and virtual working, which today I can see in Bombay the star in the sky, which I never did in my life for 64 years. So this is nature has given us warning and the time to think it over. So we should take the advantage of it. As everybody said, I'm a man of infrastructure, so I was not talking about infrastructure as if I'm promoting that, because I do road and all this position in Nagaland and all those areas. So what is the whole thing is the infrastructure has to be built. So infrastructure, nothing else, is bringing the back money in the pocket of the people. They should spend left, right, and center on that. So the money comes like this way, and they should take a major portion to bring cash flow in the pocket of the people. This is what, if they do, rest will take care, and no short-term solution. Now this is the way of life, so it has to be all long-term solution because we have to live with it. This will be a new way of society will live. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. We should have a long-term solution, And we should emphasize and spend maximum on infrastructure, so the money will go in the pockets of the people and then it will be circulated. Now, Mr. Agrawal, your suggestions to the government and advice to the public.
Yeah, actually, I think a lot of concrete suggestions have already come up. I would like to just say that we are in the process of still in the process of nation building, and only governments can't be a party of doing this particular process. We all have to contribute with our maximum possible efficiency and sincerity. One thing I would like to suggest very seriously to the government: we have been hearing this for the past 2 decades. I would say since 1991 about a single window clearance. I mean, let us be honest. Is it really a single window clearance we have in India anywhere? I mean, one has to deal with maybe 25, 30, 40 departments. If one has to put up a project, one has to go for a startup. So we have a lot of talks have been made about the startups and the startup ecosystem and how to facilitate that and the manufacturing activities. You see, single window clearance is the word. I mean, if government can sincerely and seriously implement single window clearance, one nodal officer for one project, and let him take it through. All clearances, everything has to be dealt with that particular nodal officer only. Any issues, any problems, one nodal agency. We have to run from pillar to post. So, I mean, and I can say, I mean, I have spent around 25 years in the manufacturing sector. So I can see now what the new entrepreneurs must be facing through. I mean, new startups would be facing through. So today, our United Nations ranking is 55 odd in ease of doing business. Should we be happy with that? We are talking about being number one in manufacturing sector, and our ranking in ease of doing business is around 55. Is it a matter of proud for us? No. I mean, we should be in top 5. And lot of groundwork has to be done. I must say, the sincerity is there on the part of government, willingness is there on the part of government, and lot of policy making capability is there on the part of the government. Now the only thing is implementation of it and taking everybody together, every segment of the society together. And I think these 2 years, coming 2 years, are going to be transformative years for India. I mean, the history for India for next 100 years has to be written in these 2 years. So government, please wake up, and you have your hands full with a lot of tasks to do in these coming 2 years. And every sector of society, whether industry, manufacturing, agriculture, everybody is with you. Please make right policies and show the real commitment for to the world that India can do it. So I'm very hopeful and optimistic about this.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal. India can do it. We can show to the world. And you have mentioned very clearly that the suggestion to the government is, please be clear about the single window clearance, because if we have the single window clearance, these all things can be solved very easily. Now, the last word with Mr. Devendra Chaudhary. Your suggestions to the government and advice to the public.
Sir, our Honorable Prime Minister is living with a thought, and he has shown this rest of the world that and he was declared as champion of the earth by bringing in solar system India ke liye. Like, I mean, the thought he thrown in, one source, one grid, one earth. It was a big call he has taken, because sun as one source, solar energy as one system, and one grid. Across the earth, there has to be one grid. So something which is going waste, it can be produced, it can be converted into energy. That's basically the thought our Prime Minister has. So our suggestion is, he should bring in this thought within this country. This country should have one taxation system. Like Arth Kranti people from Pune, they have suggested them to go with banking transaction tax. Just one tax for this country will take this country to, a next level of success story across the globe for next 100 years. As Mr. Agrawal said, probably we can see the golden era for this country back again, because one taxation system will end up a lot of issues and problem with everyone, not with someone who is doing who is an employee or is an employer, who is doing business or is basically doing trading or manufacturing or wherever. whosoever is doing banking, I mean, that transaction has to be taxed. Some of the levels can be, uh, can be like it can be tax free at a later stage. But one transaction tax is basically the solution where you can increase the income of this government. Moreover, for infrastructure, as all our seniors said, government has to come forward to bring in good infrastructure system, whether it's road, it's transport, it's industrial park, it's cluster development, or it's basically providing good sanitation and hygiene, or reviving all the rivers. So it's basically the call with the government. Government people are there to support their call. Government ke saath, we are there. We intend to take this country to next height, and we want this country to become a Sone ki Chidiya again.
We want to make the country again Sone ki Chidiya, says Mr. Deven Chaudhary. Thank you, Mr. Deven Chaudhary, for giving your suggestion. And your suggestion is that the government should come out with one tax, one nation policy. It should be on the banking system, according to you, so that once whosoever is dealing with the bank, which nowadays almost everyone is dealing with the bank, can be taxed accordingly, and then no problem for no other taxation should be there. And you have also mentioned that the infrastructure has to be more emphasis. So today you have seen how the leaders of the industries, the expert of the industries, have given their views, and they are very, very clear. The emphasis, the perception which the people always have in the mind, or the media projects the industrialist as the culprit for the migrants problem, for all the shortages in the market or the black marketing. It is not like that. They are having the full planning to how to serve the people. They are doing it. They want to do many more things, but the only problems which they are facing is that they are not getting full support, not only from the government but the public also. Because if them, if we will see to it that there should be no wastage. Wastage is not that we have to save at our home also. We should not waste even the food products in this difficult time. And they are ready to see to it that the India will become a global leader, because there is an opportunity that China is being hated by many, many countries. So their views are very clear that we have an opportunity, so industries can boom like anything. So today's program, which has been live telecasted to you by V4 News, News Karnataka, Global TV, Malnadu TV, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring new and new programs every day on a very, very typical or the common subjects which that is impacting the general public's life. And tomorrow, our program is on the media conferences on COVID-19 impact on urban economy. And we have a very power-packed panel tomorrow. We have Professor Dr. Subramania. He's the Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University. We have Mr. Ramnath Pradeep, former Chairman, Corporation Bank of India. And we have Dr. P.K. Ibrahim. He's CEO, True Coat Paints Limited from Kochi. And we have Dr. S.K. Patnaik, former Managing Director, Indian Railway Finance Corporation. So please log in tomorrow at 11 a.m. And I would like to thank my all panelists who have joined today. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshwan. Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi, Mr. Agrawal, and Mr. Chaudhary for joining the program. And thank you all for viewing our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.